Good evening. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Bill Kaler. I'm the Dean of the Sloan School of Business and Communication at Regis College in Weston, Mass. I'm here tonight to talk to you about how you can continue your education, looking at financial aid and other related issues. This is a project we're carrying out in conjunction with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and its Operation MoneyWise program to help our veterans and military connected learners in the state of Massachusetts improve their financial literacy, improve their education, their earning prospects. So thank you very much for joining us. Next slide, please. I'm going to start us off. I'll be joined by my colleagues, Emily Turcotte, our admissions counselor, Tanya Jean-Francois, our Director of Financial Aid, and Laura Bertonazzi, our Dean of Undergrad Admissions. So first want to pose the question, how do you start to think about this? Where do you start in thinking about your next steps for your education? Well, I'd suggest that you really want to start from where you want to be and work backwards. Right? What are some of the careers you've thought about that might be a good fit for your skills, right? What you do well, and the things that get you excited, right? Once you have a sense of that, you can figure out, hey, what sorts of education do I need to move into that career? Now, in order to understand that, you need to figure out where you are now in your professional life and in your education, right? And taking some time to think about your big picture goals, but also the assets you have in place now for yourself can enable you to figure out whether a degree or a certificate program or a graduate degree is what you're really looking for. Now, you might also want to think about your longer term career goals, not just the job or career you start right after your education. So 5, 10, even 20 years down the road. Maybe you want to own your own business. Maybe you want to be a healthcare provider. Maybe you want to run a multi-million-dollar company. Okay? Whatever your career path, whatever your goals, try to align what you're doing in the near term with where you want to be in the long term. Right? Now, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Emily Turcotte, to talk to you a little bit about narrowing down your educational choices. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about a little how to choose a school. One of the first things you want to look for when you're choosing a school is looking to make sure that the program that you're interested in is actually offered. If you're looking for associate program, if you're looking for bachelor's degree, master's, graduate certificates, you want to make sure all of those programs are there. You also want to look at the location and make sure that that's something that is accessible to you. If you want to live on campus or if you're looking to commute, you want to make sure it's not super far away, or if you're able to take a train or drive, those types of things. You also want to look at the different supports that are included. For example, in this picture, we have our Learning Commons. So in our Learning Commons, we have tutoring services. We also have our academic coaches who work with you one-on-one to make sure you're staying on top of all of your assignments, scheduling, things like that. And then we also have academic advising who can help you choose those different courses. Looking at the schools that have those different support options is really important. And you also want to look at the environment, make sure that the school that you're looking for has a welcoming environment that you really feel like you can be a part of. You also want to look at job outcomes, job placements after graduation to see if that kind of aligns with what you're looking for. And then also your comfort level, kind of going back to that environment, making sure that this is a place that you feel comfortable. Next slide, please. You also want to look at your own educational background. So if you have taken any classes at community colleges, or if you have any other college credits, seeing if those can be applied to the degree that you are looking to ultimately complete. See if they'll accept any AP or IB credits from any high school classes that you've taken, and then any other examination credits such as the CLEP or any of those other exams. And then a lot of schools will actually accept military education training from your joint service transcript as credits towards your degree. So that is something that you can look into as well. Some schools may also offer prior life credits, so that could be something to look into in addition. Next slide, please. And then looking at the actual application process is also important. You want to pay attention to those deadlines. A lot of schools will have different deadlines, early action versus early decision. Early action is non-binding, so you don't have to worry about applying to that school and being bound. If you're accepted, that means you absolutely have to go there. And then we have, regular decision, which is kind of that regular deadline. And then if you're looking into a graduate program, you want to pay attention to those graduate admission deadlines because they're often different than undergraduate deadlines. And you also want to make sure that you're gathering all of those materials that you'll need. So that includes recommendation letters. Make sure you're choosing recommenders who know you well, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Writing a strong essay, maybe finding somebody to look over your essay, pick out any grammar mistakes that might be in there, and then making sure that you have transcripts from any of the places that you're going to be gathering them from, whether that is community colleges or your joint services transcript. And then you also want to look at different applications that you may need to apply for any extra money. Next slide.
Now we'll have Tanya Jean-Francois, our Director of Financial Aid, talk to you a little bit about the important question of how to pay for it all.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I thought I was unmuted. Thank you, Bill. My name is Tanya Jean-Francois, and I am the Director of Financial Aid here at Regis College. And today I'm going to walk you through some basic steps to applying for financial aid, qualifying for benefits to help you pay for your tuition. One popular question that we receive all the time is, can I receive both financial aid and veterans benefits? Veterans benefits will be covered a little bit later in our presentation, but the answer to that question is yes. You can receive both VA benefits and financial aid. And it starts out by you filling out what's called the FAFSA. What is the FAFSA? It stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And families and students such as yourself can begin filling out the form as early as October 1st every year for the academic year of your choice of the following year. This is the form that determines how much aid you're going to receive from the government, how much aid you're going to receive from the state, and possibly some funding from Regis as well. It gives you loans, need-based grants, merit aid, and in order to complete this form, it collects personal and financial information from you, and it applies a formula to determine an expected family contribution number, otherwise known as an EFC. The most important factors on this form are income, assets, number of children enrolled in college, and how many members are in your family's household. So even if you think you make too much money or you receive too much in benefits, I always encourage students to go ahead and still take the time to complete the FAFSA form. You may qualify for funds such as work study, which provides you with an opportunity to work on campus in a department of your choice or offering. And it also includes employer funding. So as I mentioned before, we'll get to more of the veterans benefits later on in the presentation. Next slide. So as we were mentioning, the free application for federal student aid is completed by the current and prospective students in the U.S. to determine eligibility for aid. You do have to be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen to apply. We do ask that you, before filling out the form, create what's called the Federal Student Aid ID, which serves as an electronic signature for you to sign your FAFSA. You can create a unique ID. In order to do that, you'll need a social security number, you'll need your date of birth, and your name as it appears on any official documents. Next slide. After you complete your FAFSA, the Office of Financial Aid, of course, will be notified within 3 to 5 business days that you've completed it. And we will look to review your file to see your eligibility for funding. Some of the reasons that prevent a package from being put together are missing information or a delay in submitting the information to the school as soon as possible, because the financial aid funds are limited. And if you're selected for verification, which we see happens to a lot of students, who are under the age or just turn 18, or your information is missing or blank, no social security number provided on the common application. Those are all very, very common. And these are things that we can work with you to resolve so that your financial aid package is not held up. The social security piece is a very, very important part because it is what links your common application, your application to Regis, with the FAFSA that you've just completed. And once those two link, we're able to determine eligibility for your federal, state, and possibly institutional funds. So as soon as you receive your FAFSA, we will receive it in a week's time. Please take that time to review the student aid report that will let you know if there's any issues or if you're selected for a process called verification. And try to submit the documents within at least 2 weeks' time from your notification of missing documents. Thank you. So top tips for a successful FAFSA submission. These are just some of the common things that we notice in our office that students make mistakes with. So we'd like to offer them to you so that you can prevent that. You want to make sure that you're reporting the correct degree. So incoming undergraduate students should always report themselves as first year, never attended. Unless you have attended somewhere else, you can say first year, and yes, you have attended somewhere else. Your class level is very important. Students should know if they're transfer students, how many credits will be accepted by your school, by Regis, so that we can classify you as either a freshman, a sophomore, junior, or senior. There are different levels of loans and it increases with each grade level. So it's important to know and notate on the FAFSA the correct class level. We see this from time to time. If you have an amended tax return, you should work with the financial aid office to confirm that the financial aid information you reported on your FAFSA also matches what's on your amended tax return. If it's not, we can make the updates on our end on your behalf. And just reporting citizenship, legal guardianship, or selective service. That's very important. Do not leave those fields blank. You can always sign into your FAFSA and save out of it using your federal student aid ID and use password. And if you need to retrieve your non-citizenship alien number, or if you need to retrieve information and come back in to input it in the FAFSA. So just be sure to save and update, and then you can always go back in. So those are my top tips. And if you have any questions, just know that our office is always here for you. We're here to help you. You can find us by email. We'll meet with you by Zoom. We'll take your phone call. So do not hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Tanya. At this time, we'd like to talk a little bit about veterans benefits. And you'll hear us refer to our learners as military-connected learners as well as veterans. We recognize that the benefits afforded to members of our military community can apply not just to the veteran or active service member themselves, but also direct members of their family. There are a lot of different types of VA benefits available to learners, and that includes students who are looking at associate's degree programs, bachelor's programs, certificates, as well as doctoral programs here at Regis. So on the screen here are various types of benefits. You'll hear those referred to either by their former name, such as the post 9/11 GI Bill, or by their shortened name and the way in which they're categorized and classified by the Department of Veterans Affairs, such as Chapter 33. And so here at Regis, we're really proud and honored to be a military-friendly institution. We really want to support our military servicemen and women, as well as their family members in their educational journey here at Regis. And so we want to make sure that students understand how they can access those benefits and try to make the process as easy as possible. Because we recognize that whether you're a student who is utilizing benefits or a student who's not utilizing benefits, we want to make sure that financial aid and understanding your student tuition bill is not the barrier towards your success. And so whether at Regis or at another university, it's really important that you familiarize yourself with those key offices on campus. So financial aid, student accounts, which is sometimes also known as the bursar's office, your admission officer, your program directors of your academic program, as well as your Veterans Affairs officer on your campus. So how do you apply for VA benefits? The Department of Veterans Affairs determines your eligibility for various types of benefit aid, as I showed on the previous slide. That determination can be based on multiple factors: your level of service, your years of service, your service type, as well as your discharge status. In order to figure out what type of benefit you may receive, you want to first apply for what's called a certificate of eligibility. The institution that you go to will need that certificate of eligibility to determine what type of benefit you may receive and how that can be applied at your institution. To do that, you're going to go online to va.gov and you're going to go to the educational portal area and you're going to look at your education benefit. If you've already utilized education benefits, you can go into that screen and you can see how much you may have remaining on your benefit. And if you've never applied for benefits, you can go into that screen and apply for benefits and be given a determination from the Department of Veterans Affairs. It's important to note that it is the Department of Veterans Affairs that determines your eligibility for VA benefits, not the institution that you may be enrolling at. It's also important to understand that benefits are paid out differently depending on what they are. For example, GI Bill and voc rehab benefits are paid directly to the institution, and they may also have a housing benefit. Other benefits, such as Chapter 35 dependent benefits, those benefits are paid directly to the recipient and not to the institution, with the idea that you would use those to either pay tuition or other educational expenses. So that's an important thing to think about. Tanya also mentioned during her part of the presentation that you can scaffold federal financial aid with VA benefits. So that is also something to think about. When you're applying for veterans benefits, you should also apply for a FAFSA with the institution you're going to, because you could really look at how to maximize that opportunity to, again, remove some barriers to economic access to your educational option. Once you receive your certificate of eligibility, often referred to as your COE, you're going to send that to the veterans agent on that campus. And the term you're going to hear is the School Certifying Official, or the SCO. If you go to the VA website, you're able to search institutions and find that individual's name, but also know you can go to your individual institution website and you'll find a directory that will list who the School Certifying Official is. And that's going to be listed under the financial aid pages or under the Veterans Affairs pages of the institution. And once you receive that certificate, you're going to send that to that individual and then set up a time to have a conversation about how those benefits work, what that would mean for you at your institution, what is and is not covered, and how much time do you have to utilize those benefits. It's important to note that in addition to the type of benefit that you have, your COE will also indicate how many months you have. But we're not looking at calendar months, we're looking at an academic date month. And so the way that those days are calculated, it's really important to understand, and your SCO at your institution can help you understand and unpack that. So that's a great resource to keep in mind. And there's really no danger in applying to see if you're eligible, even if you're not sure, because often we find that students don't realize that they have benefits. And we really want to make sure that members of our military community access those benefits that they have earned. So you've learned through tonight's presentation how to research a college, how to look at an institution. You've also learned about how to access financial aid, and then you've learned a little bit about some, overview about Veterans Affairs benefits. If you're interested in our institution or learning more, on the screen here is our contact information, and we're happy to reach out to you and answer your questions that you have. But at this time, I would like to open up to some general questions to members of our panel tonight. And I'm going to start with a question for Tanya Jean-Francois, our Director of Financial Aid. Tanya, I am applying for financial aid, and I am, applying for my student. So my student is an undergrad student. We have multiple children in our home who are all going to college at the same time. Does that impact our financial aid at all?
At this time, yes, it does impact your financial aid. The expected family contribution number that you receive is based on one student, unless you tell us or fill out on the FAFSA that you have multiple students in college. At that point, your EFC is divided in half if it's 2 students, or divided in 3. So that number, the lower it gets, the more eligible you are for other sources of financial aid.
Thank you, Tanya. As a follow-up, if I may, I received a financial aid letter, whether I'm an undergrad or graduate or doctoral student. Do I have to take the financial aid if it's offered to me? Can I decline it, or if I get it, I have to take it? How does that work?
That's a great question. So you will receive your financial aid award offer, and you have that opportunity at that time to decline or reduce your loans. For veteran students, because you are receiving the potential of various sources of benefits, we always recommend that students only borrow, especially for loans, what they need. If you don't need it, don't increase your debt. So you do have the opportunity to cancel or to reject loans if you should feel so.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Emily, I have a question for you that came through about the admission process. This has been a really crazy year for our undergrad students. Do you have a sense of what's the best way for a student to first learn about an institution where travel might not be a possibility?
Yes, so I would definitely recommend looking at websites and then trying to find out if there are any virtual information sessions that you can go to. A lot of those are being offered throughout the summer, so that is a great way to learn a little bit more about the institution and get to connect with the admission counselors there.
Great, thank you so much. Dean Kaler, I have a question coming in for you. So I'm a student that I've taken a lot of credits and I've taken a lot of courses at other institutions. And, I'm trying to figure out what my next step is. How does that work if I'm coming to a college campus with lots of credits, and some might be AP credits, some might be transfer, some might be JST? Like, what's your recommendation?
That's an excellent question. And it's a situation we run into quite a lot. For students like the one asking the question who have a lot of prior academic work, one of the best options is what we call a bachelor's completion program, which is one where you can apply transfer credits from exams, from military training and your JST, and also from prior community college or other college coursework to a degree, and it'll shorten your path. You do want to be very careful when you do have a lot of transfer credits in choosing the right program for you, because some programs really don't have a lot of flexibility, and this is true at any college, and of course at Regis as well. And so you might not be able to use as many of those transfer credits if you go into very specialized fields.
Great. Thank you so much, Bill. And then I have a question coming through. It's a Veterans Affairs question. That's perfect. I've heard about the Yellow Ribbon Program. What is that, and how do I access it? That's a great question. The Yellow Ribbon Program is often also referred to as a top-off program. And so if you are eligible for the post 9/11 GI Bill at 100% eligibility, what that GI Bill has is a per year annual cap on the dollar amount of tuition that you can apply. But if you are a Yellow Ribbon eligible, and that would be notified on noticed on your certificate of eligibility, the Yellow Ribbon is basically an agreement that the institution goes into with the US government to say, we'll help you fill in that gap. So let's say you get to your spring semester and there's a gap, you've capped out that approximately $25,000 worth of VA funding for the year, and you have a little bit of a gap. Maybe it's $10,000 of tuition that's still remaining. If you are eligible for Yellow Ribbon, and if your institution has Yellow Ribbon credentialing like Regis, it's possible that we can work into an agreement where Regis will cover $5,000 of that and the VA will cover $5,000, and essentially leaving you with a $0 charge. In order to find out if you're eligible for Yellow Ribbon, you need to look on your certificate of eligibility. And then you also need to look on your institution's website or reach out to the SCO at that institution to see if they have Yellow Ribbon and to understand the Yellow Ribbon process. Institutions have a supplemental process that indicates whether or not you can utilize it and the scope of it. Institutions are able to determine the level and scope at which yellow ribbon can be applied. So for example, at Regis, if you go onto our yellow ribbon page, you will see our criteria, and you'll also notice how you would fill in a request form to be considered for one of the available slots for yellow ribbon funding. A follow-up question, can I use VA benefits for my undergraduate and then later for my graduate education? Fantastic question. The answer is yes, provided. Yes, you can, provided you have eligibility remaining. And so that goes back to really connecting with that SCO, and during your process, during that admission process and during that financial aid process, also include your SCO in that process and talk about what's your long-term plan. You know, if the goal is to stay on and stay for a graduate degree, let's map that out. Let's look at how many semesters, let's look at how many months of eligibility you have. And then additionally here at Regis College, on our graduate and online programs at the graduate and doctoral levels, we also have particular internal opportunities for veterans and military connected learners where we offer certain discounts as well. So if you were exhausted, that could be an opportunity. So again, something to really look into and to really be in contact with your SCO and talk about your plans, not just immediately, but long-term. And then you also want to look at things like summer coursework and how does summer coursework factor into it. Depending on your state of residency, some community colleges have opportunities that could provide you with some free summer coursework that you could transfer into your home institution. And you would want to work really closely with your academic advisor to make sure you're taking classes that meet your program standards. That's really important. The Department of Veterans Affairs will not pay for coursework that's not connected to your program map. So it's, again, part of that really important conversation and the types of dialogue that we'll have with you during your process to help you fit and make a decision that works really well for you. Great question, and thank you for asking it. Those are all the questions that have come through the chat box. I don't know if our panelists have any other questions this evening. Great. Well, at this time, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this evening. As mentioned on the screen are some of our contacts, as well as on our website. Please reach out to us if you have any more additional questions after here, or if you want to talk about your particular file, your particular situation. We are happy to work with you and help you. On behalf of Dean Kaler and the entire community, would like to thank you for being a part of the Operation MoneyWise series, and like to thank you for joining this evening. Have a great night, everybody, and continue to stay well.
Thank you all.